Hey everyone, it's Zara, and I'm back to film my reading journal for the month of June. And trust me when I say that it took a long time to get this reading journal ready to film this month because I had a lot of issues with my printer. So I'll talk about that more in a minute, but yes, I meant to have this up a lot sooner than it is going up, but I feel like that happens almost every month, it seems like, at least this year. So diving into how much time I spent reading each day in the month of June, I did still read every day, but there were a lot of days that I read under an hour, which you can see, it wasn't the norm in previous months necessarily. I think it's just we're hitting the summer busyness. We have a lot of, time spent with family and friends that I'm just not at home as much reading or having the opportunity to read. Also too, I've been trying to read physical books more, and that's just not effective right now. I think I should just be an audiobook person for now, with the occasional, physical or Kindle book sprinkled in, because it's just hard to pick up a book, like a physical book with an infant. It's easier for me to pick up an audiobook, especially when we're driving places, when I'm driving to work. It's easier for me to read books in that format, I suppose. So anyways, this month I only read 4 books, which is low for the year. Last summer I also had a low, kind of reading summer in terms of volume of books. So this might just be kind of a normal thing for me, at least the last 2 years, but then also too, maybe it was a little bit of a reading slump, I don't know. So then diving into, not July, into June, I read 4 books, like I said. My favorite book of the month was Everything is Tuberculosis, and then 4 books or 1,143 pages. And so I'll just quickly go over how I print the book covers while I tell you about my printer woes. So I like to print my book covers on Canva, and I'll print them on sticker paper and then, cut them out, put them in. I do 2 different sizes. So I do the bigger size, which goes here for my favorite book of the month, and then it also goes in the back where I talk about each book individually with more of a synopsis. And so anyways, I had everything printed out from previous months. Because I'm using sticker paper, and sticker paper, I don't know, it's more expensive, or I don't just have a ton of sticker paper laying around. I oftentimes, if I have additional space to fill, I'll look at what's coming due on my library holds, my Kindle, downloads, things on Libby, or my book of the month that I've chosen for the next month. And I'll oftentimes pick those, kind of hopefully going to read in the near future books to fill up the additional space so that I'm not wasting the sticker paper when I'm printing it off. And so I only had 1 sheet of sticker paper left in the pack. So I knew I wanted to fill it up. My goal for July was just to not read anything that I didn't print out, essentially, that I was, not focus on what I actually want to read versus, other books that just kind of come up and take me on a side road. But I printed it, and obviously the colors came out wrong. My blue ink died, so like here down, it's just no blue ink anywhere. It looks streaky, its lines are bad. So then in the process of trying to fix my blue ink and running cleaning cycles on my printer, then all of my ink stopped working. So then I had to buy a printer cleaning kit, or I chose to buy a printer cleaning kit. So then I cleaned my printer and the ink wells to try to clear out any clogs. Then I got all of the colors working, and then I couldn't get my black to work. And so then in the process of trying to get the black to work, it drained all of my color inks running cleaning cycles. Even though it was just running the cleaning cycle for black, I don't know how it drains the other ones too. Don't ask me. But then I ordered more ink to try to you know, see if the cleaning cycles had worked, you know, to get the black working, because I did another cleaning cycle, cleaning solution through the black ink. And then eventually I just, even after getting another set of ink for the printer, I still can't get black to work. And I think I just broke the black section. From what I've read, of course, after the fact, was that if you run the cleaning cycle too many times, it can, I don't know, break things in your printer. And I think that might have been what happened with my black ink. But I've literally tried everything that I can think of to get the black ink to print. And so I'm just giving up on my printer, I think. So I need to get a new printer, hopefully not a super expensive one, because I truly, you know, use my printer for this page each month and then maybe a document here or there. I don't print heavily, you know, at all. But, you know, the thought of not having a printer to make this every month makes me sad. So I need to just commit and find a new printer. But for now, I had my husband reprint the book covers that I was missing from his office. He was very kind to do that. But yeah, as you can see, like the colors are very, very different. So, but I thought I would take the opportunity, since I had this, just to kind of show you what I do. Again, like I said, filling in the empty space, and I'll save, these are obviously books that are either on my current reading shelf for July, or, you know, I'm reading the Throne of Glass series. Eventually I'm going to read all of the books, so I just printed all of the book covers off. And yeah, that's just how I do it. I size them in Canva, if I didn't say that already. So I find the images online, I put them into Canva, and then I size them. Like I said, I have 2 different sizes. I think this one is like, oh, I don't want to say the sizes because I don't know them off the top of my head. But I have, you know, a size that fits the back of my reading journal, where I have these printables from Plan with Lise, so I have them sized to fit there. And then, like I said, I just kind of pick a size and use the same size consistently for these. So then when I have months that I read more books, like March, I read a lot of books, and so you know, I keep them consistently sized. So then even when I have months where these could have been bigger, I don't have to go back and reprint them when I, you know, already have them printed in my standard size, if that makes sense at all. But that's just what works for me. And again, it's just trying not to be wasteful, because I mean, sticker paper is expensive, or not something I just have on hand normally. Obviously I just repurchased sticker paper in the hopes that I would get my printer to work. And so now I have a lot of sticker paper, but at the time of printing this, I only had the one. And yeah, anyways, moving on from my printer woes and back to the books. But I just thought it might be helpful to show how I print my reading journal book covers, since, you know, that is something that I think makes the reading journal look more complete, to have the book covers in there. So then moving on to, you know, kind of the month at a glance. Like I said, I only read 4 books, so the beginning of the month is a lot sparser than the end of the month, when I was trying to finish a couple of things. I started a few things that I didn't finish in June. So all in all, not my best reading month, but, you know, it is what it is. Then I mostly read audiobooks. Like I said, I tried really hard to read a physical book. I still haven't finished Throne of Glass. I need to finish it in July. As of this point in July, I still haven't finished it, but I tried to download the audiobook, but I'm just so far back on the waiting list at my library for it that I need to commit to just finishing the physical book whenever I have a spare moment. And then I grabbed a quote from Everything is Tuberculosis. Nothing is so privileged as thinking history belongs to the past. For new releases, I actually won a Goodreads giveaway, which rarely, if ever, happens. And so I was really excited. I won the book technically a week before it came out, but haven't read it yet. It's out now. But it's A Daughter's Guide to Mothers and Murder, which I just read the previous book in the series a month or two ago. An Art Lover's Guide to Paris and Murder, I believe was that one. But it's just a cozy mystery series that I enjoy, so hopefully I'll be reading that in the next, couple of months. I have the list of books that I started, and, obviously I didn't finish everything because I have 3 that are not checked off, but I finished 4. My book bingo I didn't do very well on because I just didn't finish very many books. And I didn't do so good on my goals either. I read each day, but I didn't read a book of the month, and I didn't read a recent purchase. Again, I was hoping to read more physical books this month, and it just didn't work out, and that's fine. So then looking at my Goodreads tracker, I only finished audiobooks this month. So again, I should focus on more audiobooks, especially when I'm putting holds at the library. Oh, and I guess 2. I'm skipping ahead, but I have my monthly review. So again, 4 books was my least amount of, books and least amount of pages for the year so far. I was hoping by this point I would reach 50 books for the year, which I'm a little shy of that. And that's fine. I still have time before the end of the year to reach my goal of 100 books. And even if I don't reach my goal of 100 books, it's fine. Like, reading any book is beneficial. If I don't reach 100 specifically, it's not the worst thing ever. So that is where I'm at for the year, is 47 books. So then looking at what books I ended up reading, for the most part, the books that I did read, I really enjoyed. Like I said, they were all audiobooks this month, and everything was either a 4 or a 5 star, which, can't beat that. So first off, I have Such a Fun Age. This is a book that follows Alex and Amira. They're 2 women who have, kind of very different lives, but they're connected. So Alex is, I think, a blogger or kind of an influencer is, the way to describe her. She got famous by writing letters and putting them in a blog, and essentially she would write different companies and ask for free product, or she would, write letters to, voice her opinion or to ask for things or to stand up for things. And so that was how she got famous, is she's a really good letter writer, empowering women, asking for what you want, getting what you want, because if you don't ask for it, you'll never get it, essentially. And then you have Amira, and Amira is 25. She's not sure what she wants to do with her life. She finished college, but isn't really working in her degree. She doesn't know what she wants to do long term. She's going to lose her health insurance because she's going to be 26 soon. And so she needs to find a job with benefits, or, figure out what she wants to do. But right now she just does a series of part-time jobs. And one of her part-time jobs is babysitting for Alex's daughter, Briar, who is 2. And one night, Amira is at a party with her friends, and she gets a call from Alex asking if there's any way she can come grab Briar and, just take her out of the house for a couple of hours and watch her, because there's an incident going on at Alex's house and she just wants Briar out of the house. It's kind of late. It's like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, something to that effect. And she just wants Briar out of the house and, asks Amira to take her to the grocery store. So Amira is like, okay, sure, I'll do that. And Amira goes to, takes her to the grocery store. She's obviously dressed for a night out, not babysitting. And, Alex is fine with it. Also too, I just remembered her name is pronounced Alix. There's a reason why, but I'm gonna say Alex because that's just, Alix was an interesting name. So anyways, Amira is at the grocery store with Briar. Amira is African American, Briar is white, and you know, Alex obviously lives in kind of a fancy neighborhood, and another shopper alerts the, you know, grocery store security, and they stop Amira, and they think that the security guard accuses her of kidnapping Briar. And, you know, obviously it's, you know, there's racial things going on with the accusation, and, you know, someone takes a video of the confrontation because, you know, that way, I don't know, Amira has it documented if she wanted to sue the grocery store. And eventually, like, one of the parents has to get called in to break up the situation and say, no, this is our babysitter. Like, yes, we asked her to be here with our daughter. Yes, it's late. It's, you know, why are you questioning my parenting? And everything, you know, kind of gets diffused, but it's a little strenuous for a moment. And then essentially the book follows, you know, kind of what happens after that, their lives, and, you know, things going on, you know, and some things that stem from the incident and to start with. So I enjoyed this one a lot. I gave it 5 stars. I thought it just had some good points, or some good, you know, social commentary. The characters, while I didn't love all of the characters, you know, from a, you know, love to hate them kind of a way, you could understand where they were coming from, and I thought they were well written in terms of their motivations, and, you know, the things that bothered me because they were well written, or, you know, you could kind of understand where the character was coming from to some regard. And, you know, and it just kind of bugged you because they weren't necessarily a nice character, that, you know, wasn't the way I would treat people, or things like that. But I enjoyed the book. I thought it was good. Next up, I have One of Us is Dead. This is a thriller. I got this recommendation from Chris from Wax Books and Whimsy. She had talked about it in one of her reading wrap-ups, and then I saw it was available. I was looking for another audiobook to pick up after Such a Fun Age, and found this one was available and decided I would pick it up. And in One of Us is Dead, you have a group of rich women who, you know, there's a lot of gossip, there's a lot of drama, and essentially their, you know, kind of social hangout is the beauty salon. You know, they're always popping in for a nail treatment or a spray tan. You know, they often run into each other there. They'll go to events at the beauty salon, etc. And so it follows a bunch of different perspectives. You have the beauty salon owner, you have a number of the women in this group, and you know someone dies because obviously the title is One of Us is Dead, but it doesn't reveal who is dead until the end. And there's a lot of different possibilities. There's a lot of different motivations. There's a lot of different possibilities for the killer. And so, you know, you kind of have to figure out what's going on, or, you know, there's a lot of different ways the book could go, I suppose. And I just enjoyed it. It was kind of like reading or listening to a soap opera, because there's just a lot of different drama. You have, you know, one of the wives, well, I guess now it's an ex-wife, her husband left her for a younger woman. So you have the new woman that's kind of joining the group of women. And then, you know, one of the women is trying to expel the ex-wife from their group, and the ex-wife is trying to, you know, hold on to her social standing and remain as part of this group of women. And so, you know, you definitely have, you know, lots of drama ensuing from all of that. But I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was a good time. Next up was my favorite book for the month. It is Everything is Tuberculosis, and this is by John Green. And I didn't actually know John Green wrote nonfiction. The reason why this even came on my radar is he was the speaker at Go Wild this year, or one of the speakers at Go Wild this year. And Go Wild is a planner conference that takes place once a year, and it's a big planner conference full of like stickers and journaling, and this year's kind of had a reading theme, so I was sad I had to miss it, but it just didn't work out timing wise with having a baby and going back to work and everything. But this I think is his newest novel, so I just had seen it come up a lot, you know, in advertisements for the conference, or people talking about going to the conference because he was signing book copies and things like that. But Everything is Tuberculosis essentially goes through the history of tuberculosis, treatment, you know, social factors, and, you know, kind of inequalities with care depending on where you live. And it also follows one patient that John meets and interacts with over a number of years, and, you know, kind of his personal story is tied in throughout the novel as well. And it was just really interesting, and I enjoyed it. I work in the medical field, and so I enjoy reading books that have, you know, kind of a medical basis, but I feel like this is a very easily digestible format for the book. It's only 200 pages. It's a short audiobook. John Green narrates the audiobook, which I thought was excellent. My husband, who's not in the medical field, really enjoyed it as well, because we listened to it on a road trip. And he, yeah, like I said, he's not in the medical field. I know some of the reviews had talked about, you know, that gave it like a 3 or 4 stars, said that they wish he would have gone deeper in certain areas, or, you know, different points they brought up, you know, spend more time on them. But I would argue that the goal of his book as presented was that he wanted to raise more awareness about tuberculosis. And I feel like this did so in a way that was fast moving. You know, you got a lot of different facts and figures and history points about tuberculosis and everything. And then he gave you references at the end if you were interested in, you know, the founding of New Mexico, because that stems back to tuberculosis. You know, you can go read this book that talks all about that, or, you know, if you have an interest in this scientist, you can read their autobiography or their, you know, history book over here. And so I would argue that this book presents tuberculosis in a very digestible, easy to read, you know, for just kind of the general person. And then if you're interested in more, you could read a thicker, you know, book, or a more specific, more pinpointed, you know, aspect of it. But I think if it was too long, the average person wouldn't want to read this book, I guess, is what I'm getting at. So I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think I want to go buy a copy of the book at some point to put on my bookshelf, because I think I would read it again even. And then the last book that I read this month was The Girl with the Lower Back Tattoo by Amy Schumer. Again, just looking at what was available for audiobooks. This one came up. I don't know too much about Amy Schumer, but I always find books, or oftentimes find books by comedians, interesting, just because, you know, usually they make you laugh, or they're fast moving. They're usually a little bit more lighthearted, although I will say hers got deep in a couple of parts, especially talking about, you know, some, you know, areas with her family, or, you know, some kind of hardships in her life, which I appreciated her going deep, you know, but wasn't necessarily expecting that. So I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I read it in just a couple of days, enjoyed picking it up, and yeah, it was all in all, you know, kind of a fast, easy read to end of the month with. So again, it was just 4 books, you know, not my best reading month, but I enjoyed what I did read, and I look forward to reading more, hopefully in July. But even if I don't, I mean, there's reasons for why, you know, the summer gets busy, and having a baby and all those other things. So reading any books is always better than reading none at all. And hopefully I'll get my July video out sooner. I don't think that I'll have a new printer by then, but hopefully I can convince my husband to print any book covers I need for July if needed, and then I'll figure out a new printer sooner rather than later. But I hope you enjoyed watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye now.